Tarkir Dragonstorm, the singles are starting to fall in price, but that doesn't mean that those cards are not going to rally. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 cards that I'm paying attention to. To put it simply, Tarkir Dragonstorm is a hot set. The pre-release is out, and of course cards are tanking, and everyone wants to know which cards to hold on to so they don't lose all their money, and they don't want to see cards they trade away go up in value, and some people just want to speculate. So where does that fall? Where does that leave us for today's video? Welcome back everyone, MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me for another video today. I mean, when we look at all the cards that Tarkir has to offer, you can't look at the course the cards have been reprinted. We kind of know what they do by now, obviously. You don't look at every little big huge honking beastie creature, although some are quite unique. You got to look for those quirky cards. You got to look for the cards that do a lot, say a little, but can give you the edge. And when people are caught by the big bangers or the hot mythic, they can miss a lot of those in-between cards that can end up costing people a lot of money, which is why a lot more players are paying attention to these cards now. Now, I'm going to give you 5 cards today, and of course, you guys are going to tell me if I'm right or wrong. You'll add comments in the comments section, and we'll see where this all plays out. Maybe we're all going to learn something new. But these are the 5 cards I think, they're going to go somewhere, so that's why I put them in the video. We're going to start with number 1, and of course, this is one most people have been watching. This is the Mistrise Village. Now, of course, the pre-orders had it above 20 bucks. It tanked right there around April 5th, and it kind of recovered. Now, at the pre-release, I myself did open 2 of these. I'm holding on to them, and I want to see where it's going to end up. Now, the land comes into play tapped, unless you control a mountain or a forest. So, of course, 5-color decks, commander, it seems to fit pretty well. It adds 1 blue to your mana pool, which is kind of generic, of course. But then it has a blue and tap it, and the next spell you cast this turn can't be countered. Now, a lot of people out there have been telling me that this really isn't that good. Okay, that you shouldn't get your hopes up, Moxman, because you have to tap 1 blue and that land, which means really you're tapping 2 to make something uncounterable. That 1 next spell. And I understand where they're coming from. I can see it. You're like, yeah, you've got to tie up mana to get this done. But at the same time, when you absolutely have to have something go off to make your commander deck just hit the next level to get the next connection, that card may be the deciding factor. And for that reason, I put it on the list. We all know the money moves on in this game. And we are going to see, in the next 30 to 35 days, a whole bunch of Final Fantasy cards come out. And as awesome as Tarkir Dragonstorm is, eyes and heads will turn that way to Final Fantasy. They're going to look over there and say, hoo, everyone saw the spoiler leaks. Everyone's been looking forward to it. It's getting to the next level. That means the money moves on. And the faster money moves on, the less likely it is to backtrack. So as soon as you get into Final Fantasy, and then we jump over to Edge of Eternities, it's hard for players to go back and risk spending money on packs when they don't know what they're going to get, especially at these price points, which means cards like Mistrise Village are not going to see massive openings after about 90 days. It's just going to fade out. It doesn't mean it's gone, it's just going to fade until it's individual packs being opened, not boxes. And then whatever's in the system is in the system. Yes, it's a tremendous amount of cards, but I'm not trading away my cards yet. I'm not trading those things in. I'm holding on for the long haul because I'm going to need it for a couple of commander decks. And the chances of it being maybe a decent card that a lot of players want and reaching that $20 level seem pretty likely in my eyes, and that's why I'm holding on to it. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at our next card. Now, this one here is Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon, okay? Now on the surface, when you're looking at Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon, this thing on the pre-order was $20. It dropped really quick to $10. It dropped down further until the average price right now is $2.53. And you have to ask yourself, why is it dropping so low? Why is nobody paying attention to the card? Now, when we take a closer look at what this card's going to offer players, in Standard, you could have 4 of these in your deck, which means you have 4 ways of generating any type of mana you need to cast a dragon. But in Commander, not only can you only have 1 of it, you got to find ways of duplicating that power. So the fact it can add to a dragon tribal is great, but that's not enough to make this thing a super lofty card. When you see the secondary ability of paying 4 and sacrificing this land to search your library for a dragon card, reveal it, and put it in your hand, well, that's pretty nifty. But if you also look at cards like Echoing Deeps, when you can have it enter the battlefield tapped as a copy of any land that's in a graveyard, means you can actually copy the Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon again to get the mana, but also to go searching for a dragon. So there's a little more playability and versatility when you look at a commander build. And for that reason, as well as the fact in standard you could have 4 of these with a lot of dragons, it seems a likely combination of people trying to make it connect in standard for fun, casual games. I don't think competitive as far as I can tell. And then you look at Commander Tribal, where a lot of, basically every single dragon tribal is going to have this card in it to get the mana they need. Kind of like a limited version of a Cavern of Souls. I can see why people would want to buy it for more than $2 over time. And that's why we're likely going to see speculators dive in on cards like this. People, when they don't see an expensive price tag attached, tend to ignore it and put it off to the side, not recognizing how expensive this could be later. Think of Sliver Hive and other lands of that type that may be specific to casting a certain tribal creature, but become really valuable in their own right just because they don't get reprinted right away. It's a great way for Wizards to jack up the value of a card before reprint, and it could be years in the making. So I wouldn't ignore a card like this. It seems like it has more value than people recognize. Now let's take a look at our next card. Now the next card is an uncommon, and anyone who's been following the game the last 16 to 18 months, we've seen a lot of uncommons be a driving force of value in the game far further than they were 3 years ago. Cards in the uncommon slot can reach $5, $6, $7, so it's something to always keep note of. This is the Sun Pearl Kirin. It averages 45 cents here at pre-release time. It's not a super expensive card. Now, of course, you can see there on the pre-order, though, it was $2. So they thought it was going to be something big, and that doesn't mean it's not going to rally later on. When we take a closer look at this card, let's not forget the casting cost, the power, and all that, sure. But when we look at the card as an uncommon, the fact it has flash and flying means it's not just some vanilla card, it's going to do something. So for the 1 white, 1 other, you get the 2/1 flash with flying, but then the ability says when this creature enters, return up to 1 other non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand. If it was a token, draw a card. So there's a few effects that we can take into play when using this card. You may want to have an effect trigger again. So you may, at the end of a turn, have to cast out the Kirin to unsummon your creature that you need to trigger on the following turn for whatever game effect you're desiring inside of Standard. There's lots of options right now. And in the next 12 months, there's probably going to be a lot more, making the Kirin a more viable card. But at the same time, it can be a defensive card to save a creature from being eliminated from the game, being exiled, destroyed, whatever, what have you, being controlled, who knows. Whatever the reason may be, you may have to pile out the Sun to get that card back into your hand and maybe even sacrifice the Kirin to do it, but who cares if it got you the game-winning effect you needed. Not to mention, it's a 2 casting cost. This is a very affordable, flexible card that I think at 50 cents seems undervalued to me. Time will tell if I'm proven right on this one, but I think it has a little bit more going on than most people recognize. Now for our next card, we have to take a look at Call the Spirit Dragons. This is one that a lot of people have just been honing in on and saying it's going to be some huge card. Now, let's take a closer look because at $18 to $30, you see the average $18.76, a foil at $30, and this card is losing value right now. We have to see what people are so excited about. As a 5 casting cost, dragons you control have indestructible. Well, that makes your dragons a lot harder to deal with. Yeah, you're using a 5-color deck, but most dragon decks are going to be 5-color. Wizards knew this, which is why they built it this way. At the beginning of your upkeep, for each color, put a +1/+1 counter on a dragon you control of that color. If you put a +1/+1 counters on 5 dragons this way, you win the game. So you got a whole bunch of colors. It's basically like a way of doing an instant win combo if you can get the right amount of mana flowing. And I already have seen players talk about doing all kinds of crazy stuff, but at the same time, let's not all forget that changelings are also dragons. Shapeshifters are also dragons. And there's a lot of shapeshifters and changelings that cost 1 and 2. Now, that's not going to be used in Standard, but in Commander, that's a whole different kettle of fish that you need to be aware of. Because you may see a couple of mid-dragons and think you have all the time in the world, and then before you know it, they can lay out a whole bunch of cheap casting cost changelings to end the game. I think this card is going to have some serious legs. I don't know if it's going to go to a $50 card. It doesn't seem likely, but $25 to $30 in holding there, and this card is still trending down right now, means if we wait to see if this card loses their 50 to 60% of value in the next 30 to 60 days and has a rally later on, well, in the long run, Wizards may choose not to reprint a card like this for a long period of time, which means its slow drip value back upwards in a rally may be slow and steady, but there could be some good returns at the end of that. So it's something I think players need to consider. And the last card I want to share with everyone is going to be the Stormscale Scion. This card started its pre-order days at 30 bucks. It drifted along through most of March, holding pretty steady. And then around pre-release time, this thing fell off the face of the earth and has lost more than 70% of its value. Now, does this mean the card is worthless? No. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's a 6 casting cost for a 4/4 dragon that's flying, and your other dragons get +1/+1, but this has Storm, the most broken mechanic in the game. Remember what Storm says, when you cast this spell, copy it for each other spell you cast before it. Copies become tokens. This is going to be a disgustingly powerful card in the right build, not to mention Storm decks in general, and Commander players are going to find a way to utilize it. Buying 4 copies now means you might be able to reap huge benefits later on. Even if you don't like the Storm mechanic, somebody else does. So there you have it. 5 cards I think are going to be pretty awesome. And they may not be recognized for that now, but they may do something later. And if I can save you guys a couple of bucks, well, all the power to it. Either way, I hope you found this video fun, informative, and if you have some great ideas of cards you think are going to go somewhere, drop some comments in the comment section. Share them with the channel. Let us get on the inside loop, and let's use everyone's knowledge to come out better prepared for what this set is going to give us, because it is a wicked set and a lot of players are excited. Guys, thanks again for hanging out. Thanks for being here on my channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Well, hey, you guys made it to the end of the video. That's awesome. These are the patrons, the supporters of the channel. They're kind of here every month. They make sure we do the videos every day, make sure everything stays up to date, kinda. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks to my patrons, my YouTube membership members, and the new members of the channel, as well as all the regular viewers out there who tune in every day and enjoy the content. Guys, it's awesome to be here. Thanks again for supporting. And of course, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Help us get closer to 30K. You know what's funny? I only have to be right on one card to come out ahead. It's kind of scary, isn't it? Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. You've made it to the end. And that's the world we live in, where one of these cards could shoot up so much in value. If one of those uncommons goes to $5, $6 card and you bought 20 of them, you just came out like a champion. You bought 1,000 of them, you're insane, but you came out, well, you're getting some power cards at that point, aren't you? Either way, it's funny to think how this comes around, but this is what's called leveling up. Not all these cards are going to go up. And no, you shouldn't just spend random money hoping you're going to make it big. What do I know? I don't have a crystal ball. But I look at those cards and I say there's something there that kind of draws me in. And I look at potential, how I see other people playing them. And I say, yep, some of these cards have been around before and they've done great things. And I think it's going to happen again. Either way, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Right near the bottom of the barrel. Few grainy bits. I'm still going to drink it all. Ramble Jamble.